Ready? Yeah, there we are. Good night, hon. Hey, everybody, it's JJ Conway. My little one wanted to be on screen, so I made sure. Surprise. He just had his big debut today acting in his little play, his little camp play. Today we're going to be talking about something that is near and dear to my heart. Hold on, it's telling me I've got low internet. Let me make sure the internet is plugged in. It is plugged in as it's going to get. So it happens when you live in rural Texas. All right, you're going to go to bed now, so tell everybody good night. Tell them good night.
Hello.
Good night.
Hello.
Okay. All right. All right. We'll see you later, honey. Okay, so everybody, today is going to be a fantastic day. As you saw on my intro, today we're going to talk about getting paid, not just booked. Now, the original title of this class was How to Make Your First $1,000 Speaking. And so for those of you who are new to me and my body of work, basically this is part of a series: how to make your first $1,000 writing, how to make your first $1,000 speaking, how to make your first $1,000 with live events. So every second Thursday, we're doing this series. Okay. And so let me pull up the schedule. Let me pull up the schedule so you guys can see it. And if you're not already a member of my group, I have 2 investing groups on Meetup. Okay. And I know we haven't done much with Meetup because it's been a pandemic. So we haven't exactly done much with Meetup, right? We really haven't. But what I have done was kept them open. You know, back in the day, Meetup, let me see, I'm trying to bring the screen up for you guys while I'm talking. Back in the days, Meetup wouldn't let you do a lot of online events. Like, you had to have like 90% of your events had to be in person, or Meetup would shut you down. Like, I had stuff shut down on Meetup. Okay, but I've got 2 Meetup groups. I've got this one based in the DC area. So this is based in Northern Virginia, and I kept it growing. And hopefully you can see that. It's called it's meetup.com/build wealth with JJ Conway, right? And then I have this other group that we started in Bossier City. And I use the term we lightly because I actually can't remember who started it. I didn't start it. I didn't actually start this. Hold on. Y'all can't even see me. Hold on. Let me put that on there so you can at least see my facial expressions with this. I didn't start this group, right? But I took it over when whoever started it left. And at that time, it had like 200 members or something, and it wasn't doing very well. So I took over the Bossier City, and I took over the Shreveport, and then I let go of the Shreveport, and I changed this one. Well, you know what? I changed it in the title: Build a Profitable Business, Bossier City, Shreveport. But I guess I never changed it in the title here. But that, and if you look at that facility, that there is the Kingstown Family Life Center. That was my space in the mall. We opened it for church. That's what we opened it up for. But then we ended up pretty much using it because the church flooded and the church couldn't pay the flood bills. And so what we did, this is what we did, y'all. We keep everything legal. We keep everything. We do not commingle funds. We do not commingle ideas. We kept everything separate, but we said, okay, we're going to make a deal with my business. My business is going to teach classes in the non-sanctuary part. And those classes, whatever profit came from those classes, was going to go to help pay down the flood bills of the church. And so that's my facility there that you see. The reason that I'm showing you this as we get ready to start talking about how to make your first $1,000 speaking is that a lot of times people think about professional speaking, public speaking, any speaking in general as being behind a lectern and you're getting paid $10,000, $20,000 to speak. Now I love that, right? Like I haven't hit the $10,000 and $20,000 club. I'm in the $5,000 club for my speaking engagements. All right, I'm not in the $10,000 and $20,000 club yet, but I have the vision, right? Let me tell you how you hold the vision for the next level. Okay, as no, I should get to that later. Nah, I'm gonna give it to you now. I'm gonna give it to you now, all right? Because I already mentioned it. But here's what I do now. I'm in the $5,000 club, right? So what I do is I write my contracts as if they are $10,000, and then I give them a $5,000 discount so that I have my contract says whatever they're paying me. You see what I did there? So they're paying what they've agreed with me to. They've agreed with me to 5,000. They've agreed with me to 2,500. They've agreed with me to 3,000. But my contract, when I write it up, it doesn't matter how much they're paying me. If they paid me 7,500, I would still tack another 5 to 6,000 on top of that on the contract, and then back it up. All right. So you say, well, what difference does that make? You're still getting paid the same. The difference it makes is it is in their subconscious and in my subconscious. Now they are looking at me as a higher class of speaker. And the more you believe it, the more they'll believe it, the more they believe it, the more you believe it. And eventually you will walk in it. Okay. And so it helps to walk in it when you see it, which is why writing down affirmations and things like that work so well. Okay. So I am getting a little bit ahead of myself, but that's just because I'm just so fun. But when I show the picture, when I show the picture, when I think about the Kingstown Family Life Center, any of you who were with me for those 4 years in Louisiana, you know that I very rarely did a paid speaking engagement in that. I very rarely held paid conferences in that. I did Live to Lead was always conference, was always paid. That's a John Maxwell conference. Building Wealth Together was a paid conference. Then we had a couple other paid conferences, but for the most part, this speaking was community outreach. So how on earth am I going to make my first $1,000 with speaking if all I can do is community outreach? Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about today. Now I'm going to ask a little bit of indulgence today. Okay, as you all saw, those of you who were on at the beginning, you saw that my little one is enjoying summertime and resisting sleeping. Oh, you're coming to say hi again? He's kind of riding high off of his first public performance, and so one performer to another, I'm letting him enjoy that moment. And so I enjoyed the moment with him and did not prepare slides or anything like that. Okay, so we're just going to talk today, and I'm going to ask that if something really speaks to you, that you take notes. And if you have questions, I'm going to give you some methods of asking questions. Oh, y'all, I forgot to turn it on the free conference call, and it's 20 minutes late free conference call, which means ain't nobody going to get on the free conference call and have waited 20 minutes. Okay, I've already been there, done that. So you know what I'm going to do? Y'all, I'm going to ask for two indulgences. One, I don't have any slides. But two, I'm going to start a room here in Clubhouse. Okay. I don't ever get anybody on Clubhouse. Let's be honest about that. All right. But you know what? I'm just going to try it and let's just see what happens. Okay. But it's telling me I need to update. Okay. So never mind. So, oh, well, I forgot about that. Okay. So, what we're going to talk about today. Okay. What we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about several methods of making your first $1,000 as a speaker. But I'm going to show you questions and answers. Okay. So, that's not going to work today because, oh, no, that's not the one. Wrong one. I should leave that up. Hey, if you want to bless me, send me some money, y'all. Cash App, Queen of Cash Flow. There we go. That's the one I wanted. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and put the free conference call on because this Clubhouse is acting ridiculous. But and I don't want to belabor, and it's on my screen. So what we're gonna talk about today, we're gonna talk about how you can make money if you've never made any money speaking. So this is going to apply to a couple groups of people. The first group of people, obviously, is people who want to speak for a living, or people who want to speak from the stage. They may want to coach for a living, or they may want to sell other products like books and things like that for a living, but they know that part of doing those other things they want to do requires speaking from the stage. So we're talking about stage. Okay, so we've got stage, but then what we also are going to talk about today that helps with the stage also helps with other things that you might want to do. So perhaps it's not necessarily from the stage. Maybe you're wanting to speak to sell from to sell. You want to speak to sell. So you're dealing with clients and you feel uncomfortable selling them into something, but you know that you started your business to have greater freedom, and you didn't build your business to be another job, right? You didn't build your business to be strapped in bondage, another job that keeps you chained to it, and you can't ever take any time with your family, right? Okay, so if you're in that situation, then you want to learn how to make money with speaking, but you're not necessarily speaking from a stage, but you are speaking every chance you get. Okay, and you're speaking at networking events, and you're speaking at little tiny stages that we're going to talk about in a second. So we're gonna it's not speak to sell. So I need to know. So look, those of you who are good with this kind of thing, help a sister out. All right. Help a sister out. I love it. I love it. I love it. Ain't nothing wrong with the 5K club. Hey, the 5K club gave me financial independence. All right. Now look. I'm not walking in financial luxury yet. I'm not, I'm getting there. But the 5K club, let me tell you what the 5K club. Okay, I'm taking. Let me ask y'all to help me do something. Help me come up with a good name for this. It's not speak to sell, because speaking to sell means something to people. That means you're speaking from the stage and you're selling products at the back of the room. But I need a term, I need a phrase, y'all. And while I tell you this 5K club, I want you to think and drop in the chat for me what we can call. I'm speaking in my networking capacity, in my selling my product capacity, in my selling my service capacity, trying to sell, but also to create win-win solutions, but it's not speak to sell. So help me come up with something to use for that, okay? And we're going to talk about this 5K club. A lot of people think that in order to have a financially secure life, okay, and y'all might have noticed I've started talking about financial security instead of financial independence and financial freedom, because a lot of people need to get to these levels. We got to get to financial flexibility where I have a choice about how I earn my money. There are a lot of people today that don't have a choice in how they earn their money. They're just stuck. They're stuck and they feel stuck, and their life reflects stuck, and their energy is stuck, and they can't get anywhere, and they just feel hopeless. And part of what I do is I give people hope. I show you that it is possible to change it around, that it is possible to create the life that you want to create, and that it is possible to have everything you want out of life. And when the Lord calls you to do something, it is possible to execute on that vision, that calling, and that anointing. And for what really a lot of us need for that, though, is we need financial flexibility. We need the ability to make money over here, and we need the ability to make money over here, so that when this boss gets toxic, we can move on over here. All right. And so then we need that financial flexibility. But the next level, honey, the next level, I'm starting to call it financial security, because when I say independence or I say freedom, people think the yacht, and they think the airplane, they think a private jet, and they think the black cars everywhere you travel on Uber, right? And it's funny, I don't even pay extra anymore, and they all and everything I had on my last trip was all black cars. So there you go. Um, but people have an image, and what we're missing, and the reason we're missing it is because so many people making money off of selling us into this dream, selling us into this financial freedom, make it rain, gonna have all the girls, gonna have all the guys, gonna have everything we want. They're making so much money off of selling us into that we're not stopping to think about, what do we really need? What do you really need? What do you really need to lay your head down at night and sleep well? What do you really need to leave that toxic job, that toxic boss, and spend the time with your family and your kids that you want? Let me tell you what does that for you. The 5K club. All right. I'm not selling no 5K club today, but if you missed the intro that we talked about the 5K club, then you're going to have to watch the replay, and it's only up for 3 days. So you better hurry up before I put it behind a paywall. All right. Because if you had an extra $5,000 coming in every month that you didn't have to do anything but have fun for, or that you woke up because you had the automatic class sales and you woke up to the notification from Teachable or Thinkific or whatever platform you have that you sold another class, that so-and-so paid 500 over here and so-and-so paid 1,000 over here. How many of those do you need to be financially secure? And the great thing is, you implement these strategies that I'm going to share with you today. You're going to be able to make the first 1,000, and you're going to roll that over into the next 1,000, and the next 1,000, and the next 1,000. And the next thing you know, you're in the 5K club, and now you have a choice. And I first want you to have a choice. Now, I've got my sights set higher because I believe the Lord has called me to change communities. In order to change communities, I need a little bit more than 5K a month. Don't get me wrong, you can do a lot with nothing. Because I know how I know, because I've been doing a lot with nothing. I've been helping change communities for 25 years, even when I was $800,000 in debt. I was helping people get saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost, get drug free, and get mentally uncluttered, and get financially independent, and do all the things that they need to do. So you can do all those things, but I'm gonna tell you something about having a little bit of money in your pocket. I remember the first time, and we're gonna get. I see the suggestions coming in. We're broadcasting on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different platforms right now. So you may not see them on the platform you're on, but I do see some suggestions coming in. We're gonna get to those for just a minute. But let me exhort and encourage you for just a second, if I may. I remember, I think he was in 6th grade. No, it was 5th grade, y'all. I remember when I first got out of the commercial or the consumer portion of that debt. Now, for those of you who don't know my story, I was 800 some $1,000 in debt, bad divorce, debt run up in my main name while I was on a military trip, big boo 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 boo. And the bottom line is I could have gotten out of that debt a lot faster than 12 years. But for a few years, I didn't own all the real estate and other debt that my ex had. So I got out of about 120 of that was run up on my card. It wasn't my debt, but it was under my name. So I said, okay. But all the stuff that was on our both names, I was like, that's his fault. That's his problem. I'm not going to worry about that right now. No matter what, you got a legal document that says you're supposed to pay this. And I was like, that's his fault. I'm not going to pay it and free him up. I was so wrong. Anyway, so I was not out of debt. But I finally got out of the part of the debt that I felt it was my responsibility, that first 120,000. And I remember my big boy was in 5th grade, and we started in that school, and he made a commitment and I made a commitment. And those of you who are wondering, we're talking about this money, I'm going to get to it. And those of you who've been putting the comments, I'm going to get to that suggestions in a second, because we got 3 platforms we want to talk about. But we're gonna get to it. But y'all can be encouraged with this. So I remember he made a commitment and I made a commitment. He had the experience of getting on one of those plans. Was a 504 IEP, one of those where everybody in the school and their brother and the special ed and the principal and everybody gets together and says, here's how we're going to help your kid succeed, even though we don't believe he belongs in our uppity up school. And he was ostracized, and he was made to feel so horrible when they enacted that plan that I fought tooth and nail for 2 years for him to get right. So they finally enacted the plan, and his 4th grade year, he was just miserable. He wasn't in trouble anymore. He did better in school, but he was miserable. He was embarrassed, and he was humiliated. So when we moved to Louisiana, we moved back to Louisiana a second time, he said, Mom, don't you tell them about my plan. And I said, okay, you stay out of the principal's office and you keep your grades up, then I will not tell the school about your plan. And he did, y'all. He was straight A student. That was my boy, was a straight A student. My ADHD, all the other whatever else he had at that time, student was straight A student and was out of that principal's office. Y'all, I think I went to 1. And previously I'd been in there 2 or 3 times a week. Sometimes it was every day. It was like, well, let me just schedule my lunchtime around when the principal gonna call me. Okay. So that was his commitment that he made. And I made a commitment that I didn't care what that school asked for. I was donating. I was showing up. I was bringing my paycheck and my pocketbook. If it meant that I was feeding him cereal for dinner and I was going to eat nothing, I was going to make sure that school knew that Lieutenant Colonel Conway had some money and some influence. Yeah, I was so vain, but it worked. And I'm gonna tell you something. When you have just a little bit of money and you're not stressing about the red light in your car going off, and you're not stressing about how you're going to put some shoes on your baby's feet, and you're not stressing about the fact that they done grown this much in 5 months, and now you got to buy a whole new wardrobe. When you have enough money that you are not stressing about that, it makes a difference and it changes your energy. And now you're not coming at business desperate. You're not coming at business and coming at new people like, I need something from you. You're coming at it from a different perspective because you know you're okay. And when it comes to doing things in the school and it comes to advocating for your kid, having money and participating in all those things, those fundraisers and donating to this and buying this for the classroom and buying that, it makes a difference. And some of us didn't know what a difference it makes. I know I didn't know what a difference it makes because all my life I've been poor. Now, my mom worked hard and she did the best that she could with what she had. And I didn't realize it until I got some money how very poor we were. Because we weren't, they didn't have WIC and all that stuff for the airmen back then. Okay. But I did so you know how some, I knew we didn't have like the other kids, but I didn't know we were where we were, until I started walking in it. I had no idea how powerful just a little bit of extra something, just a little extra $100 a month or $200 a month. So when the teacher says they need baby wipes and they need paper towels and you meet the need when all the other parents are crying and complaining and won't answer their phone, you would be surprised if you have never walked with a little bit of extra money in your life. And you would be surprised at how much difference just that little shift makes. It makes a difference in the way that you receive back. It makes a difference in the way you feel about yourself. It makes a difference in the way you get up behind a stage, behind a podium, or even talking to somebody at a networking event. It makes a difference in how you show up. So whether you're behind the stage, whether you are speaking to sell at a networking, whether you're up in front of Rotary, whether you are speaking to some kids or some people in an informal group setting, no matter where it is, you come out differently. It's not about what you're selling. It's about who you are. And I left a lot of money on my table, y'all, on many tables, because I didn't know it was really about who I am. And who I am wasn't comfortable with herself. And who I am was always trying to find somebody else's approval. And who I am back then was somebody who didn't even know what she liked and didn't like. I didn't know what I stood for. All I knew is if you had some money over here, I was chasing after that. You had some money over there, I was chasing after that. Okay. So the very foundation of whatever kind of speaking to sell, whatever kind of money you need to make, it begins with knowing who you are. But never despise small beginnings, because some of you watching today, your whole life would be changed if you had an extra $500 a month coming in. Your whole life would change if you had an extra $1,000 a month coming in. If you had an extra $1,000 a month coming in, you wouldn't stress out so bad every time something calls, because you know that phone call gonna cost you money. You have an extra $500. And if I'm talking to you today, then you absolutely need to internalize what I'm about to share with you today, because what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to say, go to this speaker website and that speaker website and that speaker website and sign up for all these things and you're going to make $1 million. Okay. I'm not going to do that today. But what I'm going to give you is even more powerful. Oh, I'm excited. Okay. All right. This is the last time you interrupted us. Go ahead and say hi to everybody.
Hello.
And go ahead and say good night to everybody. And if I see you again, you're going to have to leave. You have to go with Dad. And I know you don't want to do that. Go. Because you like being in Mama's classes. You've been in my classes since, he's been in my classes, y'all. He's been in my classes since he was like 6 months old. Even younger. Because I'm searching right now. What I'm searching right now for is the suggestions. Because I would teach and then he would wake up and I would just hold him and snuggle him while I kept teaching. Okay, so we were talking about the 5K club, and not to despise that, because because we're gonna go higher and higher and higher, but some of us are chasing for $20,000 a month, not realizing that 2,000 is good for us right now, and we're overstepping the 2,000 because somebody told us we weren't about nothing if we weren't reaching for the stars, and I'm like, okay, reach for the stars, but you know what? While you're reaching for the stars, pick up that $1,000 that you just stepped over. Pick up that $500 that you just stepped over. All right, let's see what we got here. We got Speak to Profit. Oh, I love it. Oh, y'all, I love that y'all are here. Hold on here. I love that. I love that y'all are here today. Okay, let me give some shouts out. Chandra, I'm so glad you're on. Dennis, Asia, Miss Jackie. Miss Jackie. Oh, I loved seeing your Pentecost Sunday picture. Woo, I love it. Miss Sakisha Hiley, Dr. Sakisha Hiley. Look, y'all. We got some powerhouses in the chat today. Okay, so we've got the stage. Everybody thinks of the stage when we talk about speaking to make money, okay? And we're gonna put speak for profit. That's gonna cover everything that's not the stage, okay? And then the last one we're gonna do is speaking for power. You say, well, what's speaking for power? Speaking for power turns into profit, but it's influence, okay? And John Maxwell says leadership is influence. Now, if you're like me, there was that day that came along. Hey there, hey Desiree, what? All right. I'm getting all excited. Look, y'all, I feel like it's a family reunion tonight. Look. Okay, so when no matter what it is that we want to do, where we want to make money. The bottom line is we got to be very clear on who we are and what we're about. We've got to be very, very clear on who we are and what we're about. And I talked a little bit about this last week during the fireside chat. If I'm going this way, I want to deal with the kids because I care about kids and I want to help somebody like somebody helped me. I care about the kids. I want to help somebody like somebody helped me. They didn't have to let me into the youth center when my parents couldn't afford it, but they let us in there. And I want to offer that for kids. I want to be that person for kids. I want to go over here and I want to do this for this person. I want to do this for single military moms because I was a single military mom. I care so greatly. Can't y'all tell I care about deeply about a lot of things? It's interesting. I found that people who a lot of times they don't appear to care much about anything, a lot of times they care more deeply than everybody who makes a big show of stuff. But I care about the youth. I care about military single moms. I care about my ministry. I care about all these different things. Do I still have that picture that I drew? Did I draw that here? And and if we can be pulled in all these different directions and we've expended all of our energy, and by the time we collapse in our chair, exhausted. By the time we collapse in our chair exhausted, you know what we have for all of our time, energy, and resources that we done spent? Nothing. Why do we have nothing? Drop it in the chat for me. Why is it that we can work so hard, all day long, sun up to sundown? We do all the things that they tell us to do, right? We work out most of the time. We eat right most of the time. We get our sleep most of the time. No, we're entrepreneurs. We don't get our sleep. Y'all don't believe that lie. That's a lie straight from the pit of hell right there. We'll talk about that some other time. But we do all the things that we think we know to do, and we're not making any progress. Why are we not making any progress? Who knows why we're not making any progress? We're not making any progress because our energy is too diffuse. Our energy is spread out too much. And it's like the sun. The sun is this big ball of burning energy. It's got so much energy that despite how far away it is from the earth, it lights up our noonday. You can't even look at the sun. It's so bright. But we can walk in the sun and nothing bad happens to us. We might hurt our eyes trying to look at it. But if you take a magnifying glass, and I don't have one with me today, but if you take a magnifying glass and you look down at something, at the sun, and you take that sunlight and you point it at a piece of paper and you leave it there, what happens to that point on the piece of paper where that sunlight was? This big, beautiful sunlight that we're walking in, and it feels so nice and warm on our face. You take that magnifying glass, okay? This is my magnifying glass, and you focus it down on the paper, and the sunlight makes a little point on the paper. What happens to the paper at that point? Who knows what happens to that paper at that point? What happens to that paper at that point? You're supposed to be in bed.
What happens at that point, I think the paper where the magnifying glass is at, it starts to catch on fire.
Yes, it catches on fire. All right, that deserves one more screen time. Come on. I know he's a ham. I can't, and he got it honest. It catches on fire. And when all of your energy is stopped being spread out to everything and its brother, and when it gets focused down pinpoint, then your business catches on fire. Then your efforts catch on fire. Then your pitch catch on fire. PITCH, your pitch, your sales pitch catch on fire. Then your passion for this and your passion for that isn't so diffused. It's focused and people feel the energy. The energy is focused and is making something happen. It's making the paper catch on fire. All right. It's coming because you're focused. And you say, well, I have all these ideas and I have all these things I want to do. I do too. Look, a good entrepreneur has at least one brilliant idea every day, if not every hour. So if you're going to go after all these things, when I meet you and you're talking about financial independence and you're talking about military single moms and you're talking about, and I do youth and I'm a pastor and y'all, I had like a laundry list of like 20 different things. Yeah, I do this and I do this and I do this and I do this. You know what? Somebody who had the energy to open it and the connections and the resources to open up doors for me. Do you know what they felt when they met me? They said, she don't know what she wants. And if I help her, I don't know if I'm going to get military single moms, youth, leadership, communication, finances, ministry. I don't know what I'm going to get out of her. So you know what they did with their resources, their time, their energy, their money? They took their resources, time, energy, and their money, and they went to somebody who was making it catch fire because they were focused. And that's what we have to do. We have to get focused. But before we can get focused, we really got to understand what our values are, what our purpose is, what our values are, what our goals, our purpose, our vision, our goals, our purpose, our values, our goals. And so we have a phenomenal exercise that I am not going to be able to enact in this environment. Okay. But I am, and I'm going to give you a link later that you can use to sign up for this later. Okay. We're going to be doing it via Zoom. We're going to be doing a values exercise. You know, sometimes we really don't know what's important to us. We think certain things are important to us. And if I asked everybody who's on here today, I got a collection of power-packed, power-hitting people, powerhouse divas, powerhouse men today. I've got an amazing collection of godly, strong, amazing people watching today. And if I ask everybody on this list, if I ask everybody who's watching me today, whether you're watching me live or after the fact, you know what you would tell me? God first, family second, and then my business. You might even sneak yourself in there depending on how much you want to broadcast the self-care, right? Like I work myself into the family because I can't be there for my family if I can't be there for myself, right? But everybody's gonna tell me that, right? God first, family second. Well, I got my priorities in order. But let me ask you something. If I pulled out your phone and I looked at your calendar, if I looked at your calendar, what would I see? What would I see? Would I see God first? Would I see family next? And would I see your business? Or would I see lots of empty space? Would I see lots of business and no God and family? Oh, I know what I'd see. Hold on. Let me go back to this day. So I hired an operations manager. I know some of y'all have heard about this. I hired an operations manager. And she's like, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you run your schedule. I can't find the day. I had a day, y'all, where I had like triple and quadruple stacked appointments. And it could look kind of something like this because I color code my appointments, right? It looked kind of like this, but with an extra color in there. And I felt so hypocritical because I didn't hold not never one of those. Y'all, I Facebooked. I internet researched. I went to lunch. Now look, I'm always gonna prioritize lunch with my husband because if he ever has time for lunch, I don't care what I'm doing, I am gonna prioritize that. I'm gonna reschedule. I'm going to whatever I have to do because I don't get to go to lunch with him very often. And when he gets a break in his schedule, look, he's my priority and he knows it, right? Well, I mean, actually, I don't even know if he knows that I juggle things like that for him. He just says, hey, you want to go to lunch later? I'm like, yes. If he's watching this, then he'll know. Sometimes I go through some great lengths to juggle that around because he is my priority. Okay. But when she said that, I felt so convicted. I was like, normally I hold to what's on the calendar, but that particular day I was not in a good headspace. And I realized I wasn't giving good self-care. So what is on your calendar? You say God is first. Is God on your calendar? You say your family's important. Are they on your calendar? I had to take my calendar. I had to put my family stuff in purple so that my kids could see when they looked at my calendar, they knew it was me. So when they see me looking at my calendar, they'll be like, "Oh, that's us. Oh, what are you doing with us?" And they pay attention to that. It makes them feel more secure. So you say, "Well, I just want you to tell me how to make $1,000 when I get up on stage." I'm telling you how to make $1,000 when you get up on stage. You gotta be very laser focused about who you are and what you're about. Because the people that are going to send you their money, the people that are going to buy your products, the people that are going to connect with you at the networking event, they are the people who resonate with what you are and who you are. And so if you're not clear on who you are, and people have a limited amount of time and energy, high earning, high net worth, high power, high connected people have a limited amount of time and energy. If they have to choose between somebody who is focused and knows what they're doing and where they're going, and they got to choose between you who isn't really kind of sure, because you say this, you talk it out of both sides of your mouth, you're lying to yourself all day long, like I used to lie to myself all day long, like, "Oh yeah, tomorrow I'm going to work out first thing in the morning." We got to stop lying to ourselves. Okay, that's a whole nother conversation. Who do you think the high net worth individual is going to choose to help? They're going to choose the one who's focused, who's making something burn. They're making the paper burn. That person of high worth knows that they open the door, this person will make something happen. The person of high worth would used to look at me and be like, she's got energy, she's got drive, she's got heart, but I don't think she's going to make it happen. And some of us, we have been lying to ourselves for so long that our own subconscious doesn't even believe us when we say we gonna make something happen. We decide we're gonna get on a new fitness plan, and our body's like, "Yeah, we've been through this before." She gonna wake us up early for 2 months, and then she's not gonna make enough progress, and then she's gonna drop off the cliff and go back to eating Krispy Kreme. I'm so glad there's no Krispy Kreme in 3 miles, 3 hours around me. She gonna fall right back into it. So you know what our subconscious does? Oh, we've been through this before. We're gonna nip that in the bud. She ain't getting up tomorrow to work out because we already been through this. She puts us through all this pain and effort, and we wear ourselves out, and then she falls right off the wagon, and it was all for nothing. So we just gonna nip that in the bud and conserve energy. See, our bodies, our subconscious, it is all designed to conserve your energy. It's a survival mechanism. So what we have to do is get very laser focused and put all of our energy into what it is we want. So how do we know for sure that we really are holding to our priorities that we say are our priorities? Well, one is the calendar. Here comes the next one, y'all. Now look, I ain't gonna flash you my bank app, but if I pulled up your bank app, if I pulled out your check register, where are you spending your money? If you say God first, family second, then your business. Even if you don't have to have those priorities. Those are my priorities. Those are the priorities of most of the people on my list. Those don't have to be your priorities. I'm just using them as an example. But whatever your priority is, what is reflected in what you spending your money on? A couple years ago, someone would have said that my priority was eating. But yet I said I wanted to lose weight, but I was eating out $1,000 a month. So, how are those goals compatible? I wasn't laser focused. I was saying I wanted something, but my energy was not focused on it. All right. So I'm just challenging you a little bit on this today because I know that just like getting straight on these things opened up a whole new world for me, that getting straight on these things are going to open up a whole new world for you. And some of you on this list, I know, and I haven't been clicking the comments. I need these are such good comments. Like I want to just click through all of them so somebody watching the replay can be like, wow, those were some good comments. But they're not going to match now. But the thing is some of you who are on this list, you know what I'm talking about is true because you have overcome that in your life, and that's why you're doing such big and better things now, bigger and better things now. You're doing things now that nobody ever thought you were going to be able to do. And you're doing things now that people would have never expected. They had a prescribed plan for you. When that doctor looked at you in the hospital, when that kindergarten teacher saw you, when that first and second grader, that middle school teacher, or that high school teacher saw you, they had a plan for you in their mind. They had a plan and they put you in a box and left you there. And you have the opportunity to say, not so. I'm going to do what God has called me to do. I'm going to do something with my life. I'm going to make a change in my life. And that change is not only going to be reflected in my life, but it's going to change enough other lives around that people going to compensate me, because as I'm blessing them in the spiritual, as I'm blessing them in the intellectual, as I'm blessing them in the natural, they're going to bless me in the material. That is a biblical principle. That's a biblical principle. Woo! All right, y'all. I'm on fire today. So, if we're going to speak to prophet, if we're going to speak, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am. You know, it's interesting. You ever think about Les Brown? Do y'all know the story of Les Brown getting started? Some of you that are in here, y'all, we've all shared the stage with Les Brown. Okay, so I know some of y'all already know this, but I want to tell you this story. So Les Brown was mentally challenged, labeled as a young kid, and so he was basically special ed. And I forgive me, I don't know the current terms. I know that what he was labeled is not politically correct today, so I'm struggling to say what the right words are. I don't know what they are, but basically he would be in special ed, and people didn't have much high hopes for him. You know, he was adopted, special ed, and he was just gonna, he's gonna grow up to be somebody's janitor or somebody's errand boy. And that's exactly where he started out. And that's exactly where he started out back when he first got his job at the radio. He asked for so long to get a job at the radio, and they wouldn't hire him. And they finally hired him as an errand boy because he was just so persistent. And so this person had the drive, and he was hungry, y'all. And so he got to know how everything worked in that station. He practiced and practiced and practiced for the day he got the big break. He did a good job of being errand boy. Then he would be the kind that picks up all the speakers, like the special guest speakers that would come on the radio shows and stuff like that. And he got to meet all these famous stars and everything, and he got to surround himself with that powerhouse energy. And then one day, one of the DJs was drunk and didn't come into work. And the station manager asked him to find somebody. Well, Les waited around for a little bit, called his mom and his girlfriend and said, "You better tune your radios because I'm about to be on." And he sure enough got on that radio. He sure enough got on that radio and took the world by storm. And 20 years later, he not only was the number one rated speaker, motivational speaker in the world, he served in Congress. And now, fast forward to last week, they gave him an honorary doctorate. So now he is Dr. Les Brown. And all those people who said he wasn't nothing, and all those people like the ones who labeled him and put him aside in a box, all those people were the same kind of people that showed up in his seminars and paid him good money to be encouraged, uplifted, that they too could achieve great things. So don't you ever let anybody count you out. Don't you ever let anybody count you out. You got so much to offer. You've got so much to give. You've got so much in you. And you say, "Well, I struggle with this and I can't do that. And I got all these doctor's appointments." Somebody put that in the chat. "I got all these doctor's appointments and I can't make a difference the way I want to." Well, maybe you don't make a difference the way you want to. Maybe it's time to make a difference the way God wants you to. There's so many things that I thought I would be doing with my life. And let me tell you, sitting here broadcasting you from my home studio was not one of them. I did not know I was going to be doing this. And I had all these big grandiose plans, man. I was going to be an astronaut. That's why I went into physics. I was going to do all these things. And I was going to make such a difference doing all these things. But guess what? I'm making a difference doing something that's even more powerful than what I had originally set my mind to. Well, okay, being an astronaut, that would have been pretty cool. But you know what? In the great scheme of things, how many astronauts changed your life? But how many of you have taken my business advice, or you've taken my financial advice, and your whole world has changed? I promise you, your end is going to be greater than your beginning. It takes getting focused, and it takes understanding that you have something to offer. And when you get clear on what you have to offer, distinct from what anybody else has to offer, Now your energy will open up the doors. And then you will be able to, as y'all decided in the chat, we will be able to speak for profit. Because now when we go into the room, it doesn't take us 5 minutes to explain what we do. We got it in 30 seconds. My name is JJ Conway. I help women win with money through financial education, investment education, and corporate education. Boom. I'm passionate about this because I came home from a military trip to find my household, my stuff thrown out, and divorce papers in my face. Ended up a military single mom with $865,000 of debt, 845, whatever it was. Y'all, that's my own story. But did you see how quick that was? See, I'm very clear now. Now there's a whole lot of other stuff in my story. Anybody who's seen me when I shared the stage with Les Brown, I told all kinds of parts of my story. I told about being told I was slow with, basically one step above special ed, right? I talk about being told blacks can't do physics. And that I couldn't declare my major and go on to be a physicist in the Air Force, which I did anyway, because you're not going to tell me what I can't do. I talk about some of the struggles I had in a toxic work environment. I talk about the car accident that nearly demoralized me, troubled my faith, troubled my family, troubled everything. Like, I talk about all those different things depending on the environment that I'm in. But my core story is at the heart of what I do, why I do what I do, because in my struggle to get out of that situation, I learned a thing or two about money. That people who look like me don't tend to learn about money. That women who look like me don't tend to learn about money. So I made up my mind to do something about it. And when you get clear on what it is you're doing and why you're doing it, the doors begin to come open. Your energy resonates with the person who can help you. And they don't even know why they want to help you, honey. They are going to help you. They're going to open up the doors. They're going to speak a word over your life. You're not even going to understand. There's so many times where I didn't understand why this person or why that person. And then I started teaching this stuff and really digging into the masters, digging into Napoleon Hill, digging into Wallace Wattles, digging into all of these greats and understanding the psychology of how the mind works. And then collaborating that with scripture and realizing, wow, I've been teaching these scriptures for 20 something years and had no idea why the power worked the way it worked. Y'all, you have something special. Les Brown would say you have something great in you. There is greatness in you. Don't let it go to waste. Don't let what do they say? The richest place in the world is the graveyard. Because we take there all of our callings and giftings and talents that we never poured out on the world. Don't let that be your story today. All right. So now that, whoo, man, I could stop right there and you could take that and that would help you make your first $1,000 speaking. However, I am going to give you some mechanics. Yeah, girl, you got this. I know you do. All right, so now let's talk about some mechanics. So when you are starting to speak or when you're starting to refine your message, okay, y'all heard me. I've been talking about, when did we start building wealth together? 2014, y'all. It's been 8 years, and I still stumbled just a tiny little bit. This is probably because I'm also late at night and I'm in a little bit of fun energy tonight. But you don't have to be perfect, but your message and your what you want to do is going to change over time. But when you first get started, you might not have anybody who is showing you an opportunity to share your message. And the first couple of times you share it, it might be clunky. There are so many. If some of y'all have been here, I don't know if Jaleesa is on. She's my oldest paid student. She's my longest running paid student. Not my oldest. She's my longest running paid student. And she's watched me grow from stumbling over my words. And every year or two, I try something else out to see what's going to stick. It took me a couple of years to really see what was going to stick and what was going to be easy to roll off the tongue. So you want to speak at a variety of opportunities for free to make sure you've got your message down. Now, if you don't have opportunities to speak for free, I'm going to give you some opportunities to speak for free. Okay. So I'm not going to leave you empty handed today, but I'm going to tell you one of the best ways to speak for free is to pull out your phone and or your computer or your iPad or your tablet and record yourself and see if that moves you. Now, when I got started in professional speaking, you didn't have Facebook Live, you didn't have Instagram Reels. Now you've got instantaneous feedback. You can tell if people like what you're saying or don't. You can, now wait, that's not the right word that I want to use. We don't want to use like today, because sometimes you could be saying the right thing and people don't like it. Maybe you just got to package it different. But sometimes people can love what you're saying, but they're not going to change their life because you're just helping them feel better about staying in their stank mess. And we're not trying to do that today. I'm trying to help people elevate their life. I'm trying to help people elevate their lives. So we don't want to just go by like, but let's look at effectiveness. When somebody sends you back the feedback that this really moved me, then you know that you're onto something. So you can test the concept. But if you're not sure about testing the concept, Facebook Live, you really want to keep your Facebook to your friends and family. I can understand that, because a lot of people do. I use mine primarily for business. So you're going to see primarily business on there. You're going to see some personal things. You're going to see some of my ministry things. But it's primarily, my account is primarily for business, but you don't have to have yours primarily for business. But if you test out your concept, you're going to see what resonates. And you might say, like I did when I first started, well, nobody's really engaging. Well, if all your Facebook friends and all your Instagram friends are your family members who didn't really connect with you so they could buy stuff from you, they connected with you so they could see pictures of the grandkids, well, then you're going to need to expand your circle. And you're going to have to include in your circle people who might be ideal clients, okay? But I don't really care about the mechanics of that. I took like a 6-week class on Facebook, y'all, and it helped change my entire business. And now Facebook's changed the algorithm, so I got to relearn it. But we're not going to spend today talking about that. The only reason I'm bringing it up is because you want to test your content until you've got it down. There's a great site. It's a little sparse right now with my camera just keeps going in and out. I just need to stay still. It's a little sparse right now because of the pandemic. There's a site that I used when I got started called Speaker Match. If you're interested, make sure you get my link, not just go to their main website, because you'll get a better deal. So PM me. But excuse me, when I first got started, I would record a quick snippet to audition for each thing that I was applying for. So I would go home, I would take off my uniform top because I didn't want to undo all the boots and the belt and all the bottom part. I would take off my uniform top, throw a blouse on, and I would film the top up, me doing some kind of thing. Y'all, there were times where I had, there were times where I had an hour and a half, and I realized I better hurry up and get back to work because I done made 89 tries of trying to audition for this 1-minute video, trying to make this 1-minute video to audition for $1,000 job or a $500 speaking engagement. And you say, well, that's a lot of effort. Well, I wasn't any good. I wasn't any good. And I thought I was good because I was in the military and I knew how to brief military style, and I knew how to do PowerPoints, and I knew how to put together powerful stats and pictures to tell the story, and I knew how to brief that. But it was different when you're talking about the corporate training and different speaking engagements that people wanted, and trying to weave in something about their company and weave in something about what they asked for, So it would take me a lot of tries, and I laughed at myself about it. But you fast forward a couple years, and now it might be 1 or 2 tries. And now I also have a higher level of energy. I walk in a higher level of energy that's not a desperate level of energy, that's a confident level of energy. And so even if I have a little bit of a mistake here or there, if I don't have time to re-record it, I'm still going to hit submit, and it's still going to be good. And so we want to understand that a lot of professional speaking is simply practice when nobody is watching. Okay. So how are you going to make your first $1,000 speaking? We talked about already the energetics and that you need to effectively network and do things when you're trying to speak to profit, when you're trying to network, you're trying to sell your product, you're at a trade show. Let's talk about, you're at a trade show and you need to have that energy, right? You need to be able to quickly tell your story because people are walking past. They don't have 2 minutes. Not gonna give you 2 minutes. They need to know in 10 seconds. What is that they say? A goldfish has 9 seconds worth of attention and people have 7 seconds. So we don't even have the attention of a goldfish. Like, you gotta catch them. So we've talked a little bit about that, but I want to talk a little bit more about being on the stage, because being on the stage does require the same thing of really understanding who you are and what you're about, because that makes your message hit more home with the audience than if you're all over the place, right? But that when you're speaking on stage, it's going to be important to connect with the audience. So if you're bidding on speaking engagements, and I'm going to tell you how to find some in a little bit. In fact, I know we're getting close on our time. So let me just drop this in the comments now so that you have it. This is where you can go to find a list of, it's my list of 30 pages, 30 pages. My list of it's my list of 30 places that you can find speaking engagements. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put this up here right now. Let's take, oh, wait, no. Let's take that one off. Because if you haven't already dropped your questions in the form, it's too late. We're going to be wrapping up soon. Okay, you can drop them in the comments. I'm going to pull up the form while I'll give you a second to look at that. All right, so when it comes to speaking from the stage, well, there's a couple things you have to do. One, you got to find a stage. That sounds kind of self-explanatory, but you would be surprised at how many people want to make money speaking and they're not applying for any speaking engagements. They're doing what I did. Here's what I did. That's what I did. I hope you didn't do what I did. If you did, you can put it in the comments, but you don't have to. You don't have to own up to it. But here's what I did. This is what I did. And you might recognize this. I built my little website. I put the link in the bottom of my thing. My what do you call it? The signature. And it basically said, sign up for my newsletter. Okay, sign up for my newsletter, because I just knew anybody that heard me or read one of my emails was just going to be automatically moved to go to the website. And of course, they were going to book me to speak. And of course, they were going to click the link and sign up for my newsletter without ever stopping to think, when was the last time you did that with somebody? And if you did, what was it that motivated you to do so? Chances are you had a good connection with that person. So anyhow, I made this little website and I just thought the money was going to roll in. And I had already learned with a book that you can't just write a book and expect the money to roll in, because writing the book isn't the hard part. That's not where the money's made. It's the marketing of the book where the money's made. So I already knew that. So I knew I had to get my website out, put it on a couple little Facebook pages, buy me some Google ads, buy me some Facebook ads. Like I knew that much, right? I knew that much. Y'all, if they build it, they won't come. That's a movie. Okay. If you build the website, the speaker website, and nobody knows who you are and nobody knows how good you are, they are not coming. I don't want to be mean. I want to speak in love and help you elevate. I sat around with that website expecting the floodgates to pour in and to just fill the room. The room would be filled with all of the leads and people begging me to come speak in their events. I had my first little taste of professional speaking in 2007 at the National Society of Black Physicists annual conference. I was one of the after dinner speakers and I was loving it. I like, oh, this is something I can do and make some money at. And I just knew it, but it didn't happen. And maybe some of you in your business today, you built the website, you built the business, you bought the inventory, you wrote the book, you wrote the mixtape, and the mixtape. You put together the tape. What do we call them today? The demo. You put together the demo. You put together the demo reel. You put together your demo on SoundCloud. You created a couple of pieces of art and you hung them in strategic places, and you just knew that when people went past it, they were going to see it and say, I want that. And you just knew when people landed on your website, they were going to see it and say, I want that. And you just knew that when people walked past you at the trade show, they're going to see your book and they're going to say, I want that. And they didn't. And then you got discouraged. So let's talk about how to make people want that from the stage. Now, if you're at a trade show, you really got to learn to get people's attention. And this was hard for me at first because I felt like I was intruding. But once I realized it worked, then now you can't stop me. Like now I'm the worst person at trade shows, right? Because people want to be invited in, they want to be asked in, and I would call it 40 dates in 4 months. True story of how I met my husband. And people would come, and I'm like, really? Because that would, if I saw the banner and I walked past the banner, I wouldn't turn around. But that's not. You can't always treat people like you. Ooh, y'all. You cannot always treat people like you. Some of us today that are watching, one of the reasons you're having trouble speaking and selling is because you're trying to give everybody what you want, but you are like me. I am 0.001% of the population. If you do the personality charts, I'm like 0.001% of the population thinks like me. And I tried for so long to sell to people or to connect with people like they thought like me. But you know what? I'm an aberration. Was it ENTJ? Yeah, I think it's ENTJ. There's not a whole lot of people like me, and there's very few women that think the way that I think. And so for me, what I had to learn to do is to give people what they needed, not what I wanted to give them. And as a speaker, you got to give people what they need and not what you want to give. Okay. And so when we think about speaking from the stage, the very first thing we need to do is we need to figure out how to get speaking engagements. Okay. People say, well, the first thing you need to do is analyze the audience. Well, how am I going to analyze the audience? I don't even have an audience to analyze. So you are on a stage more often than you realize. You are on a stage when you're standing at the trade show trying to get people to come to your booth and buy your stuff. You're on multiple stages at a trade show. And I think I'm saying it's on trade show because I know that two of the ladies watching, they're really big into trade shows. You're on multiple stages. Your first stage is you're there, people walking by, you got to get them in. And then once you get them in, now you switch to the next stage of get their attention. Let them get them intrigued and want the product. So it's two different stages, you know? And so first you got to get a stage. And if you can't get a stage with the list that you can link, that you can download here at jjclink.com/stage, if you can't get a stage, then make a stage. Okay, you gotta find a stage, because if you don't have a stage, or if you don't have a podcast, if you don't have a outlet, then you're never going to get better. Now, if you're already an established professional speaker, just hang on with me about 5 more seconds. I'm gonna give you some good stuff. All right. But if you don't have a stage, you're not gonna get better. Now I thought when I was planning this out, I thought that I might give you guys pictures of my first Bible study that I taught when I was back in Kingstown. And I looked at those pictures. I was like, ain't nobody ever gonna see those pictures because it was horrible. I looked horrible. Look, I already have a crazy enough face. Like if I'm not looking right at the camera, I'm like all wonky, you know. And I finally accepted whatever. You know what? It's just how I'm drawn, right? But I wasn't any good. And even when my words were good, my body language wasn't good. You don't learn that except through experience. And you learn that through doing it and then watching yourself and adjusting. And if you're already polished in person, you learn it by testing your content on a real live audience. So you've got to get an audience. And this list that I have here, it's going to give you 30 places to find real live audiences even today. Okay. Even today with pandemic lifting, there's still some restrictions, but people are looking for speakers again. And you can use these 30 platforms to find places to speak. Now, not all of them apply in all jurisdictions, but most of them will apply across the nation. Okay. So you got to find a stage. And when you get that stage, you got to understand your audience. Okay. And this is where I talked earlier about weaving in some of the stuff from the audience to my message. So if I'm talking about financial empowerment, and there's 3 different ways that I help people do better with money. I teach them wealth management strategies. Okay. I teach them how to increase their income. So wealth management is the managing what you've got, right? I teach people how to grow their income, and we grow income by several ways, either an entrepreneurial stream, or we add corporate value. So we improve your leadership or your communication, or we help you become an entrepreneur, right? Diversity training as well. So I do that. corporate training. That's the second way I help people win with money, right? And then the third way that I help people win with money is we look at all of their networking and investing and what legacy are they leaving. So we do the estate planning piece. And are you how are you going to ensure that what you've built is going to last? And if you can't pass it on to your family members, what are other succession strategies that you can use? Like, these are the different things that I do, right? So if I'm going to apply for speaking engagements, and it is, what is one that I did that you would never think that I would apply for? Um, there was it was some association of, I forget what they were called, but they were an association that created a certain type of sensor. They created different kinds of sensors for certain types. I don't remember what it was, to be honest with you, but they were sensors, and they would deploy them to do seismic or some kind of scientific capturing. Again, I think it was seismic, but I'm not quite sure. But whatever it was, my pitch was, I'm JJ Conway and I do financial empowerment. And you might wonder why a financial planner is applying for your conference keynote, blah, 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 blah. Well, when I read what you all are doing, it reminded me of this project that I did in the Air Force. We led a $2 million project that was very similar in this respect, that respect. And because of that experience, I know that sometimes we think it's only about the science, but it's actually about the people. And so what I'd like to do is I'd like to come in and talk to you about how you can empower your technical leaders. So you see how I did all of that, and I weaved in their company and their experience into it. Okay, so that's one thing that you would do. You weave it in. Here's another thing that you do when you're analyzing your audience. You get there early to the event and you mix and mingle. And then when you get up on stage, 90% of your content is stable across everybody, because you did the first part. You did the first part about practicing, right? 90% of your stage is equal across everybody, but you weave in what you heard and what you learned. And when I went up to New York and I talked to the state tax examiners, I was able to weave in stories. Now, sometimes things don't go the way you want them to go, and sometimes you weave that in as well, but you tailor what you're talking about for the audience so they understand that you understand them. When people feel like you understand them, they are more willing to come back to the back of the room and buy. And most of the time we're not selling. Most of the time when we're starting out as a speaker, we're not making money from getting paid a check. Okay. I like it when we get paid a check, and I like it when my deposit covers all of my travel for the next couple of trips. And then I get there and deliver my talk, and then I get paid another check. Like, I love that, right? Like, you can't tell me that I'm not going that I don't like this lifestyle, right? Um, but even if you're not getting paid a check up front, you might be able to sell something after the fact. And you're going to be more likely to sell something when you build connection with as many people in that room as possible. Well, you may not always be able to do that from a stage, especially if you only have 15 minutes. Okay. So you want to find a stage, you want to make sure you're analyzing your audience, and then you want to make sure you give them something of value. JJ, that is not rocket science. We know we got to give something of value. Oh, you do, huh? You know you got to give something of value? Then how come when you and I talk about how you're going to do my next conference, you want to give them your $1,000 15-minute consult? And I'm like, but nobody knows who you are. You haven't established that your consult time is $1,000. I know you're a very high net value person because I hang around people who are excellent, and excellent people are well worth their money, well worth their fee. However, if we have not established a value with the audience, we're not going to be able to get them to value our bonus. So we have this great book in the back. We have this great course in the back, and it's $999. But today for you, I'm going to give it to you for $499 because you're so special. I'm going to throw in these 3 bonuses, and one of those is going to be a 10-minute clarity call with me that's worth $20 million. And another one's going to be you're going to get to attend my free virtual workshop on how to set your goals. And the next one is going to be you're going to come with me, and if you can make it in person, you're going to come with me. Actually, that's kind of that one would sway somebody. Let me come up with one that won't sway somebody. Oh, my ebook. I'm going to give you, y'all, I'm going to give you my latest ebook. It is 200 and something pages of amazing goodness. It's going to help you take your business to the next level. Look, y'all, let me tell you what they're thinking when you talk about that ebook. They are thinking that ebook is 200 pages because you put 1 quote per page, and then you use 1 page for each chapter divider, and then you put a few lines to call that a worksheet that people can write on. Now, that may not be the case. Your book may be 200 pages of absolute pure gold meatiness, but they don't know that. They're assuming that you're just like everybody else that tried to sell them fluff and called it a bonus. Okay, so you're going to want to give something of value. Well, how do you know it's valuable to that audience? Tell you what you don't do. You don't show up without asking what the audience is accustomed to. What are they accustomed to buying from speakers? Are they accustomed to buying books? Are they accustomed to buying courses? Are they accustomed to paying $20 for something? Or are they accustomed to paying $200? When I went up to that New York state tax examiners, I said, "Oh, well, they're from New York. They got money." I raised all my prices. Look, y'all, I put a 1 in front of all my Louisiana prices, and I felt like I was doing something, right? I said, "Well, they're from New York. They got money." Y'all, they were expected to buy a $20 book. They were not expecting to buy a $1,300 course. Now, that course was worth every bit of $1,300. It's just that in Louisiana, I couldn't sell it for that much, because sometimes you have to adjust to the market. It flopped, y'all. It flopped so bad. So you've got to understand what's of value to the audience. The speaker after me came in. He sold his $20 book. They snapped him up. They were in long lines to buy his book. And I was like, because originally that's what I was going to do. And then I thought, no. I got to think big. I can't leave money on the table. I need to double my prices. And if I don't know my value, no one else will. True statement. I got to think big. True statement. I got to put it out there, and I got to believe it or it'll never happen. True statement. But let's not let those true statements cause us to make big mistakes. Let's be realistic and analyze the situation. Had I asked, and I ask now, y'all, look, I ask now, had I asked the conference planner when she said that I could sell from the stage, had I asked her what kinds of things her audience generally bought from the speaker, I would have known. Stick to a $20 book or maybe a $20 CD course, something easy breezy. I did some other things I should have asked. There's been times where I've done webinars. I didn't ask, hey, am I going to be able to do breakout rooms and this and that and the other? We have to ask. And that goes in with giving the value and understanding our audience, because if we don't give something of value, we're not going to make that money. I'm going to tell you right now, making your first $1,000 speaking doesn't have to take an arm and a leg. $1,000 speaking is really only 100 people buying your $10 book. It's only $50 buying your $20. It's only 50 people buying your $20 book. It's 20 people buying your $50 course. It's 10 people buying your $100 course. Do you know 10 people who would buy your $100 course? You absolutely know 10 people who would buy your $100 course. If they're not buying your $100 course, you're probably doing what I did in the beginning, which is you're offering people something that they don't perceive to be of that much value. And not only did they not perceive it to be of that much value, I didn't necessarily perceive myself to be of that much value. And when I first started selling financial coaching, some of you have heard this story before, but I'm going to share it with you. And I know we're running late on time here, but I think that I've got 2 more points, and I want to share the story with you, and then I want to talk about speaking for power real quickly. If I had felt more confident in myself when I first started selling financial coaching, I wouldn't have priced it at $29 for your free financial tune-up. But I went around for real estate investment group to real estate investment group to real estate investment group. And the good thing that I did with all of that is I practiced my sales pitch on those audiences. And when I talked about how you got into investing to you not to create another job, but to break free from it, people were like, yeah. And I could tell that people were going with me, right? And I was like, oh, I got it. I found one that worked. I would tell another story and it flopped as that one didn't work. We aren't going to keep using that one, right? But when I first did it, I priced it at $29. Y'all, it took me 90 minutes to 2 hours to analyze their situation, then spend an hour, hour and a half with them on the phone to talk to them about their situation and help them chart a plan to address their situation. When you added up all the hours I put into that financial tune-up and all the $29 that they paid me, I was making less than minimum wage. Now, you didn't start your business to make less than minimum wage, and neither did I. And when I realized in that situation was I had to raise my prices, but I was so lacking in confidence that people would pay me for the things that I was teaching them and holding them accountable that I only raised my price in increments. I raised it to $49. And then my calendar was still getting full. So then I raised it to $79 and my calendar was still getting full. And I raised it to $99 and my calendar was still getting full. And when your calendar is full like that and you feel overwhelmed, that's when you raise your prices. You don't show up and say, you know what, I'm worth it. You're going to pay me $500 or you're not going to get my time. Because if nobody's been paying you, you're not going to get paid. You have a $500 fee, but you got an empty bank account. But in this case, I was overrun with my clients with all the free time that I had, charging $99. So then I charged $129, $149, $179, and I settled on about $199 after about 4 months in business. Because that was the balancing point for my comfort level of schedule and how much money I wanted to make. Okay. And so you have to give something of value and you have to understand and be confident in your pricing. And you may say today, well, I don't offer anything any different from what anybody else offers. And it's the same with finance. There are a million people out there teaching folks how to win with money. There are a million people out there trying to profit off of people, selling them all kinds of different things and that work and all kinds of things that don't work. And it kills me sometimes. I sit in these presentations where they said, well, we're looking for people to help women win with money and we're looking for volunteers. And I'm like, yeah, let me go to this. Oh, it's a sales pitch for this company or that company. And it kills me to watch people get so grabbed into that because they have a strong sales pitch and they know how to connect to people. But to me, I'm like, you know what? I ain't even worried about that anymore because I know I offer something that nobody else offers. Nobody else speaks to the audience that I speak to about money right now. Now, somebody else might come along and that's great, but did you get out of 800 something thousand dollars of debt while being a single military mom? Probably not. Did you do it without taking on a whole lot of debt? Did you do it without leveraging a whole lot of debt? That's what got us into the debt, was leveraging debt, you know? So we can argue about debt later because mathematically there are a lot of things that work that don't work behaviorally. But I know that I bring something to the table and you have to find what you can bring to the table. And I'm offering you below, you see it on the link below there, a free handout that shows you where to find speaking engagements. If you want somebody who's been there, done that, and is making money doing the thing to sit down with you and actually help you analyze the audience and actually look at what you have that is of value to the audience you're going to speak in front of, or help sit down and strategize with you about your business, then that's when you can bring someone like me in. If you're going to take my free handout, I hope you will bring me in. But this is what you need to do, is to move forward. And you don't want to move forward throwing good money after bad. But take what I'm giving you, generate some funds, come back to me and say, okay, JJ, I made $300. Let's do this thing. Okay? Because I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. If you work what I just gave you tonight, it is going to open up doors for you. And in the next month, you're going to have that $1,000. You sit down and do that hard work tonight, tomorrow night, all this weekend. and you figure out how you're going to get laser focused and where you need to cut so that you can stop getting your energy being diffused out and start getting laser focused, like with that magnifying glass, like that laser light. If you sit down and do that work, and if you sit down and look for these stages, and if you sit down and analyze the audience, even if you don't bring me in, but you bring me in, you'll make more money. But even if you don't bring me in, you'll still make something. You will get a result. And once you get a result, then you can work with someone like me to help improve that result. All right. All right. All right. Oh my goodness. I can talk about this all day. Because when you've been set free, you just want to help others get free. And when you've got something and you realize that you have something that you are offering, and I see so many other speakers getting scammed out there, then you just want to be able to share it with the world. Right. So let me talk a little bit more about speaking for power, because I need to get going. I promised my husband I will, be quick. Speaking for power, I alluded to this a little bit when I told the story about my son being in 5th grade and how a little bit of money went a long way. Okay. There are a lot of people who have been broke for so long, who have been struggling for so long, that it's hard to conceive of having an extra $300, $400, $500 to open up doors. Okay. But opening up doors is what you need to do when you're speaking. And opening up doors is what you need to do for your family. And opening up doors is what you need to do for your own self-care. See, some of us have been working so hard, and we've been trying so hard, and we've been trying for so long, and we've been getting so frustrated because it's not working the way we wanted it to work, that our power has dissipated. Our hope is hanging on by a thread. And we know God's called us to do a work. But sometimes we just wonder if he made a mistake. Sometimes we wonder if he really did call us. Sometimes we wonder if we really have what it takes. Sometimes we wonder if we're ever going to be good enough. We see somebody else with an inferior product or an inferior service, and they just seem to be making all kinds of money hand over fist. And we're struggling, and we're struggling, and we're struggling. I've been there. I've absolutely been there. And sometimes we got to refine our message, and we got to find avenues to speak so that we can generate our own personal power, so that we can take back the narrative of our life, and so that we can start becoming who we were intended to become, so that we could be the person that God created us to be before life beat us down, so that we could become the person that God talented and gifted us to be before the world told us we weren't nothing, never going to be nothing. Sometimes we have to take back what is ours, and it may not result in monetary profit, but the power you get from being able to share your story and create your own narrative spills out over into everything else that you do. And you don't even know sometimes that something's changed within you. But being able to speak and clarify your story and tell your story and really understand why you're doing what you're doing, it's a game changer inside. And this is deeper than just what I was saying earlier about knowing what you're, God first, family second. That's good stuff. That's the calendar, checkbook, good stuff. But this is personal power. It's personal. It's a you and you deal. How are you feeling about yourself? What words of encouragement are you speaking to yourself? Or are you smiling through the day and beating yourself up inside your head? It's time for you to take back your power. It's time for you to take back the narrative of your life. And it's time for you to recreate the story. The world has tried to put you in a box for too long. Your ex-husband, your ex-wife, your ex-partner, your kids, your parents, your aunties, your uncles, I don't care who, has tried to limit you, not necessarily out of maliciousness, but sometimes out of love. And it's time for you to break out of that box and to stretch your wings and fly. And I can help you do that. And it starts with taking the first step. The first step is going to be to go down to this link and download your free handout. And when you download that free handout, it's going to give you some contact information for how you can work with me going forward to be able to really refine your voice, understand your purpose, reclaim your power. I'm JJ Conway. I want to thank you. I want to thank you for being here with me today. I hope I've encouraged you to know that there is greatness in you. And with God, you can do all things. Y'all take care and be blessed.